Puts up a tough shot. Bounces around. Goes in at the buzzer. Working it down to 2-1. A deep three. Oh!
It's population.
That's how you win a game.
It's population. We hustle every day to find picks. You can tell us if you want to get rich. It's population. We robbing underdog and prize picks. We the best in this biz. You ain't telling us shit. It's population. We love making money quick, fast. Cooking up a team card. The whole crew about to smash. It's population. We do it for the fam, so everybody let's cash. The dopest team you ever seen. Winning money, stacking G's. Bookies setting traps, but they'll never catch me. Some people get addicted like rats to the cheese, but I got one obligation to bring Johnny to his knees. Holding back the props till the morning he knows. They'll be fishing in the shack, plotting nukes with the bros. Only withdraw, never reload. Underrated them out, amigos. We go with honest, we seeking the bloods. We know when the fucking cheat code. Party that I'm sweating, they can't be good for my health. Some may call it making bets, I call it investing in myself. I'm picking props like stocks. Population for the win. Got my sips in by the buzzer now. Let the games begin.
Unbelievable. Just perfect. He did it.
It's population. It's population. It's population. We do it for the fam, so everybody let's cash.
All right, we're live. What is up, guys? Back, final week of NBA for the All-Star break. How you doing, E?
Doing really well, man. How are you?
Doing all right. Looking at this slate, but they're jamming games in here before the All-Star break. So we were just discussing. We got a lot of teams on a front end of a back-to-back tomorrow, and pretty much almost every team plays on Wednesday. So something to be cautious about. And when you get close to All-Star break, I feel like guys can get complacent and just be ready for the break for the last set of games. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, let's talk about this. What is it? 6-game slate?
Yeah, I believe so.
So the Celtics Nets are on both of them on the front end of back-to-back and actually play each other again on Wednesday. So we're going to doubleheader baseball-like here. I think you had some interest here. Do you want to talk about it? I know there's some moving pieces because we have Porzingis who injured his back on Sunday, but he was able to return to the game and finish it out, but he's questionable. So you got to imagine that he's a likely candidate to either sit on the front end or the back end of this doubleheader. So definitely have to watch out for that. But let's assume he plays. What are you liking from that game?
Yeah, if we assume that everyone from Boston's going to be good to go, I'm definitely going to have interest in taking some unders here. I think somewhere between the rebounds for, say, like Claxton at 10.5, that feels like that's a touch high for him. You're asking for a double-double, which I totally think he could do. It's going to be a tough front court, though. If Porzingis is good to go, then I think he's going to have some tough, matchups here. And he's been kind of, getting a little handsy again, too. So in the last game, he got into some almost got pulled foul trouble, but thankfully he clutched up for us and, had an explosive second half on top of that. So if the game goes a distance, there could be a little bit more risk here, but Boston's doing Boston things. They're chucking threes. They're playing pretty solid defense. I will say on the road, they're a little bit more sus this year. So this could kind of set up for a scenario, as you mentioned with Porzingis having back issues, he could sit, and I wouldn't be surprised. And honestly, we could even see, two guys sit here, say like Holiday plus Porzingis, and then they just throw in filler guys. The back-to-back game is back in Boston, so wouldn't surprise us, to see those guys if they sit on the front end, they're going to be ready to go on the back end, and probably playing even more so for a blowout in that second game. I wouldn't be surprised to see like just a total beatdown, and then both teams just wave the flag early, and they knock off for the vacation. So don't be surprised there either.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. them playing back at home, the Celtics on Wednesday, it would make sense if they were to rest. They would rest the front end being on the road, and they want to play some of their guys in front of the home crowd at home for the All-Star break. So yeah, I good chance Porzingis sits, and then maybe we get some other late news midday downgrade for one of the other key guys on the front end, and then they play in the back end. But what are you thinking about? You mentioned Simmons. His rebounding has been way down since he's playing point guard, and actually his what we talked about in the previous stream, his potential assists have been down as well. Do you still like it if Porzingis is in or out?
Yeah, honestly, I think both the rebounds and even the RA has pretty high potential to go under. It's pretty crazy seeing just a total difference in the last two games where they've started him at the one, and his play style is completely different. We've seen now the transition from him not wanting to rebound or not just being in a spot to rebound where he typically was when he played at the four, and he's actually scoring again. It's kind of some flashes of old Ben Simmons, hitting those middies, being able to cut to the lane and, expose defenses through that. And he looked pretty good. And as far as we know, I believe he's still on a minutes limit. They said him and Finney Smith are, working their way back in from extended time off. So, also with the back-to-back, you got to figure that either he's going to play short stints throughout and play both games, or he's just going to play one game, maybe a few more minutes, but pretty likely to probably sit on the back-to-back here.
Yeah, and you pointed out we looked at the rebound chances in the last game they played against the Spurs, which is a favorable rebound spot with the pace the Spurs play and the amount of shots to get up and bricks. He was here at the bottom with Schroeder and Watford, who are bench guys, with 4 rebound chances, and then of course Claxton leading with 19, and then Mikal Bridges second. So yeah, I mean it makes sense. I think as long as we don't get some wrench thrown in where it's like, okay, because Schroeder played actually pretty well in his debut for the Nets, and we just gotta make sure that Schroeder doesn't move into the starting lineup and they change things up, because then that would move Ben back to the 4. So the under rebounds or under RA, because we looked at his potentials, which you just mentioned, Schroeder off the bench leading with 17, and then everyone else, around 5 to 7, and Ben had 5 potentials here. As long as the lineup stays the same, are you willing to go under the rebound and RA?
Yeah, I think honestly both of them are pretty live for him to go under. And have we checked the spread? I imagine it's
It's
probably
8.5.
yeah, okay. So that'll be something, that's definitely going to hinge on any kind of pending news, because I think, the closer we get to locks, I wouldn't be surprised to see it at a full 9 by at some point tomorrow. And it's not an easy matchup. Brooklyn is allowing a really high clip of 3-pointers, and hey, what does Boston do best? Shoot some threes. So this could be either a track meet and a really good back and forth, or just an absolute bloodbath, and we're just going to see so many threes. We've seen these kind of comical games from Tatum here, where he doesn't take the game seriously, and although we don't have it right now, I know his 3-point attempts is something worthwhile in these like joke matchups to him. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him just launching it from 3 tomorrow and like not caring at all.
Yeah. You brought up a good point about the threes. Jalen has been struggling from the 3-point line lately, but against the Heat, who notoriously bleed threes because they're a funnel defense, they focus on stopping the lanes and shutting down the paint. He bounced back with 3 threes against the Heat. So if you want a low line sweat, you could do that. I mean, all of the 3-point props for the Celtics are probably live in this matchup, just depending on who's in and out. So I think the Celtics are a real wait and see. I'm probably not touching any of them tonight. Prior to getting any news about who went through shoot around, who's looking like they're going to play or not tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, just for kind of, I mean, it's almost a comical play, but Ben Simmons, his Goblin play at 4.5 points, that's just awesome. I think he could get 5 points.
Well, last game, his full game normal raw line was 5.5 points. So against the Spurs, which was very doable. Spurs bleed points in the paint, and he crushed that. Yeah, so for sure. I think there's probably like 2 games that probably have, in just terms of competitiveness and shoot up potential. I think the Thunder being at the Magic, and then the Kings and Suns here. And those we have on the board. Other games we don't have on the board yet. We don't have the Pistons and Lakers, and the T-Wolves are playing right now, so they're going to be on the back end of back-to-back here. So Thunder and Magic, I know if Franz just keeps being super productive, I think his PRA, it's only gone up, I think one over this stretch of a couple games where he's been productive here. I think this is definitely live, and these teams play each other once already in this season. I think it was in January sometime. He was out that game, so we had nothing to really go off of. Bankero really dominated the RA though in that game. He almost had a triple double. I think he had 9 rebounds, 8 assists, 20 points. So yeah, I mean Franz has been productive, but you got to look at the matchups he had. Bulls, who are average and give up threes, and the Spurs, and then the Pistons. So those are 2 of the best matchups you could ask for in terms of PRA here. But we know that OKC allows a lot of rebounds here, and they have been struggling defensively as of late. So, I mean, that's one you could consider, but you always have to worry about Bankero, who's been really dominating RA, especially the assist department. Maybe just looking at Franz's straight up points too, but I think it's pretty high now at 21.5. So I'll have to look into that more. But other one, I think Jalen Williams has really been dominating potential assists. We don't unfortunately have his straight up assist prop, but he's been leading number 1, and then SGA has been right there behind him. So I think, one of them you could definitely consider here, but it's just not the best matchup, being in Orlando where they play better defense and the pace down spot. So yeah, that's a tough one. I'm on the fence with a lot of those props, but I think you had some interest in Dort's what was it, 3-point made?
Yeah, his 1.5 threes made.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, just a fairly low line. I mean, he went 2 of 5 in the first meeting, and like I'm thinking they're gonna scheme up a lot more plays to try and stop SGA and shut him down a little bit more, so he can't get in those transition shots, transition free throws. And now with having Wendell back on top of all that, I feel like Orlando, they've been a really solid unit over the last couple of weeks, but they are just absolutely lights out at home. Like, they are just dominating teams, and even some of the best teams who, maybe on paper should have a fairly decent matchup. I mean, they are just giving them fits so bad at home.
They are, yeah. And it's probably a big reason, Thunder are only 2-point favorites here, being number 1 team in the Western Conference. Vegas only give them a 2-point favorite here, just because Magic being at home. Okay, and then the Kings Suns. So we saw this matchup, I think mid-January. Both these teams bleed threes, right? So we should have a 3-point shootout here. It's just a matter of landing on the right guy who gets hot from 3. Grayson Allen had a huge game last time against them, both in the RA department and scoring. But it's Grayson Allen, and he could easily fall to the wayside against the top three guys in Booker and Beal and KD. But he's got some pretty low lines. If we think he's going to get hot from three, and the same applies for Herter too. I think the 3-point shooting, like I said, is going to be sky high in this game. Both teams like to shoot threes, and both teams give up a lot of threes. With that said, do you have any interest in the scoring potential for these guys, or?
Yeah, I think so. Like you mentioned, we're definitely going to have to kind of narrow the game script or some kind of a game flow that correlates well. You don't want to, say be leaning on Keegan Murray on the road. It's a good spot for him, and at the end of the game, I wouldn't be surprised if he has 20 points, but he's going to have KD on him, and you got to think about how they're going to scheme that up for him. If I got to go with anybody, Fox, he's still been kind of the first half warrior for them. We've seen this last game and kind of over the course of the last three games, his playmaking finally starting to creep back up. And I don't know, his second half shot is still broken. So I can't trust full game props. I can't trust second half props. But, first half, he's still getting to the rack. He's still shooting threes and he's playmaking more. So I think having some kind of interest between maybe a first half prop for him. I see you got the first half PRA queued up. I think this could be a really solid bounce back for him. He's been one of the road warriors still, Monk's cutting into a lot of the offensive production, so you got to keep that in mind. And if Sabonis is feeling himself, he could definitely torch Nurk down low. What's the first half?
I think Sabonis had a triple-double in that last meeting. And Sabonis seems like he's on a mission ever since being All-Star snub. So it's not the best game environment for him. Being Phoenix at home, they've pretty much majority of this first half of the season have been pretty good at shutting down inside scoring. Kind of like a funnel defense like the Heat. And they really want to focus on stopping easy buckets, high percentage shots, but they're bleeding threes, and the Kings are right there with them. I think the Kings right now lead the league in 3-point percentage. They allow the highest 3-point percentage in the league, and especially on the road. So a lot of these guys are candidates to get hot from three, and that would be guys like Grayson Allen or probably Beal. I mean, Booker, sometimes he'll chuck from three, but sometimes he'll just stay with his mid-range shooting. So it's hard to trust him for that, but definitely guys like Grayson Allen here. And then KD's always live, but yeah, it should be a good game. If the Kings can hang in there, they've been very prone to be a letdown on the road. So something to keep in mind. And I think, Vegas is given the favorite pretty decent size spread in favor of the Suns, but the high total at 244. The Fox, after watching that last game on Sunday against OKC, it was rough. I don't know if he's just checked out or if he just didn't care that day and he's just ready for the break, but he's not been his normal self. But I agree. He has stepped up for him on the road. And it's a good matchup for him here. He went off last time, so I don't hate it. I don't hate the first half PRA probably.
Yeah. And then, we'll keep an eye out for, I could even see Malik Monk having himself a game here. He's been killing the assist department coming off the bench too. So if he's landing a couple threes, he could definitely catch fire.
Yeah, a lot of his minutes hinge upon Kevin Huerter. If Huerter's playing bad and Monk's doing well, then Monk's going to just dominate the minutes, especially in the second half, and then Huerter will just lose out on big minutes in the second half. But if it's, flipped the other way and Huerter's hitting his threes and is playing well, then Monk loses out on key minutes. So they're highly intertwined with each other. Because there was that stretch of games where Monk was in the doghouse not playing much, and Huerter kind of got on that heater, and so Monk was barely playing.
He's playing 34 minutes. That was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a good spot. It's a good spot for Herder. He's gonna take. He's been averaging about 3 to 4 threes in the first half. So you want a low line sweat and hope he hits two to three or two to four. Take that first half points. It is the Suns, so um, wouldn't blame me for that. Unfortunately, we don't have any of the other late night games like the Pistons Lakers. And then we don't even know if AD's going to play. He's got his usual questionable tag. Um, it's a smash spot for him if he does play. Keynote, it's Ivy's birthday tomorrow, so he'll be the birthday boy being in LA. If you want to fun sweat with that, I could see him staying productive and have his high usage that he's shown. So definitely look out for his props. I think he's been sitting around 21 and a half points. I would probably only consider first half though in this game environment, being at LA and 11-point spread, because both these teams play on Wednesday as well, so they're both on the front end for back to back. But Ivy's been super productive in the first half and with the really high usage, especially in the first half. So I definitely wouldn't mind that if it's at 10.5 first half points. Anything else I'm missing here?
Nah, I think that's really about all. The best of what we got to work with. Let's Taco Tuesday tomorrow, so we'll find a couple good pairs and a couple low line sweats to put out with. And um, last second one, I forgot I had this queued up, but yeah, I knew you had mentioned Jalen Williams for his assist earlier. I think the or his Goblin at 2.5. That one's a pretty safe play to have for tomorrow.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's been since coming back, averaging about 12 to 13 potentials. So I don't mind
Yeah,
that at all. I mean, the RA, you could consider it, but it's just Magic is not the best rebounding team to attack. So I would feel better if we just had a straight up assist. But I think there's actually juice coming in on the under his assists and his rebound. So that might bump down and we might get a more favorable line. I think his assists right now is 4.5 with minus 135 on the under. So if once they eventually drop it at 4 flat, definitely something to consider. But again, it's not the best assists matchup. But just due to
yeah.
sheer potentials that he's had and how much he's been playmaking and ball handling for this offense since returning. And then you could always consider Giddy's unders. His lines just keep going down, and his minutes are never safe. The only scary part with him I notice is when the game gets out of hand and if it's a blowout, he'll run the second unit bench unit and get clean up garbage time stats before checking out when they fully empty the bench. So there's just always that risk if the game goes sideways that he just gets garbage stats.
Yep. I noticed that because he burned a couple folks when he opened the fourth, and I think he only played like maybe 3 minutes, but he hit a bucket, a couple RA here and there, and when you think you're safe, he just comes out of nowhere with like 5 or 6 and burns you.
Oh yeah, um, yeah. I think there's a lot of moving pieces tomorrow, a lot of key news, and teams being on the front of a back to back. So unfortunately, there's a lot of wait and see, and not much value on the board currently. So I hope this helps as much as possible, and we'll be tuned in tomorrow to adjust accordingly. Anything else, E?
No, it's gonna be about it for today.
Oh, I will say if Porzingis is out, the Celtics bleed dunks whenever Porzingis is out. So if we get Clax at 1.5, I doubt it. I mean, they bumped him to 2 flat recently, but his dunks can definitely be consideration if Porzingis is out.
For sure.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow night because it's a massive, 10, 11 game slate for Wednesday. So we should find a lot more plays and value tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, E. Catch you tomorrow.
All right, man. Have a good one. Later, guys.